So what do you think?
Let's do it.
What do you think?
What I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
It's a very beautiful park, I love it. The weather here is amazing.
Around New Year's 2018, I visited a place a bit mysterious to we Americans, Cuba. Everything they said was true. The old cars, the spirited people, and yeah, the dilapidation and lack of goods. One of my videos was of a fellow tourist speaking her mind, a middle-aged lady from the former Soviet Union who gave our poor tour guide in Havana a piece of her anti-communist mind.
I was with communism, I know what is this communism.
But it was what one of the locals said that had the longest lasting impression. I met Juan on Couchsurfing, if you remember that website. He liked to organize socials for the tourists, and when he found out that I had a YouTube channel, he asked about being the subject of an interview. Well, a couple of days later, Juan and I were in a Havana park.
I was born here in Havana. I work as a software developer.
Juan proceeded to go into the dark side of life there.
In Cuba, we only have very few newspapers. You can say 3 or 4. And they are all from the government, and they all defend the government 100%, the government opinion,
Right.
government side. You only will see one side. The first, the second, and the third goal of the government are stay in the power.
We wrapped up in about 45 minutes, and I took the footage home back to Minnesota. A couple of months later, I released the video. And a couple of weeks after that, I got a Facebook message from Juan's father. Juan was being held at a U.S. detention center seeking asylum. Juan's father provided his son's attorney information, and after contacting her, I sent the video Juan and I had done because they were using this as part of his political persecution case. A couple of months go by, and I got a message from Juan. His asylum was granted. That year, he settled down in Florida, where he eventually got work at an education software company. Their parent company is actually here in Minnesota. So, this summer, I got another message from Juan, this time that he was coming up to my town. And in addition to showing him around and catching up, he and I found ourselves in another park. 6.5 years after that interview in Havana, we were in Loring Park, downtown Minneapolis, where he updated me on his life and impressions of living in the US for 6 years. And you've been here for 6 dramatic years. Trump was president when you got here. We went through COVID. And now Trump might be president again. What do you have to say about the past 6 years of coming to America, being granted asylum? Yeah, just making this your new home.
Yeah, well, personally, I am very happy to be in the United States. This is a country that opens its arms for me, for part of my family, many friends. So I always will be glad of that. If you ask me my humble opinion in the general level, it's hard to compare because 6 years is not that long time, but it's true that in these 6 years a lot of things happened, especially for example COVID was the craziest thing ever, and many other problems that exist in the country, like the George Floyd killing and protests and that kind of thing. I think that people in general are like they put too much trust in the political parties. They blame each other, one party to the other one, especially for Democrats and Republicans between each other fighting. I understand that happens in many places in the world. But what I think is the really strength of America as a country is the system that they have. That is a system that makes it very hard for any political party like to destroy the country. It's not the same, for example, in the country where I came from, like Cuba, that essentially the political party does whatever they want and they can destroy the country, and they did destroy the country because they don't have any other equilibriums that can stop them, like financials, like institutions or even legal institutions. Nothing of that really exists because they control everything. So that is one good thing that I like from America. That I think that allows the country to continue being a very strong country in the world, and a country that many people criticize. I understand that because there are, of course, some problems here. But when you, in my opinion, when you wanna see if you should move to a country or which country is better than another one.
Yeah, compared to what? America, you can criticize America, but compared to who?
Exactly, compared to what and who. And what I like to do is to see how people vote with their feet. Voting with the feet is what people move. If you don't know anything about two countries, let's say, I don't know, Kyrgyzstan and I don't know, and Romania, right? You don't know which country have a better standard of living between those two countries. But if you look, where are people moving? People are moving more from Romania to Kyrgyzstan or from Kyrgyzstan to Romania. That's gonna show you pretty much everything you need to know. Because people in general are not like crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that people continue coming to America. That is another big issue, of course. And there are reasons for that. Because USA is still being one of the best countries in the world, in my opinion, and I love it. This is my country. Of course, my country is Cuba, so it's always gonna be Cuba. But my other country, the country that adopted me, is America, and I love it too.
Go through the asylum process briefly. What was that like?
The asylum process is always hard because in my case, for example, there are like when you arrive to the border. I arrived there. I didn't cross the border illegally. Some people do it. I didn't have to do it. I just go to a point, immigration point, and say, hey, I'm gonna.
What did you do exactly?
I traveled to Mexico. I have a visa, and then I traveled to the border, in Mexico.
By bus or something?
No, in plane because I have a visa. So.
Yeah, you flew to Mexico.
Yeah.
Then you drove up or rode up to the border?
No. I fly to a couple of cities. I'm from Mexico City to Reynosa.
Okay.
Reynosa is a city they literally have the border there.
Okay, got it.
And you can go by walking
Yeah, got it.
to the border, and it's what I did.
Okay.
Just a bridge.
Yep.
It's literally a bridge, like it could be there, right?
Yep.
And you go there and they ask you, hey, do you have a visa or something? I say, no, I don't have a visa, but I'm Cuban, I'm asking asylum.
I see.
And then, making the long story short, I was in a detention center, like around 3 months. That was an immigration detention center. That was another very interesting experience for me because there you meet people from all over the world in the detention centers. I didn't knew that. I thought that most people, or pretty much all people would be like Latinos, like Mexicans or Cubans, but it was not like that. I met people from countries that I didn't even knew that existed. Like Eritrea, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that before. And there were people from Eritrea there, people from India.
Mm.
In the time that I was there, that was happening like the Ramadan. So I saw all that with my eyes, how they pray. Yeah, that was an experience, but looking for me.
And why did they grant you asylum? What was what helped your case?
Many things helped my case. The persecution that I suffered in Cuba, in general was that. Things like that.
Were you a specific target of persecution in Cuba, or just general, because of your work, or you were?
I was a specific target, of course, but as many people are.
Because you were
specific
outspoken.
target. Exactly. Because I was in the Cuban opposition,
Ah.
Exactly for that.
Mm.
I was spoken. I have many friends that are currently today in jail in Cuba, political prisoners. So yeah.
So how does that work? Will you ever return to Cuba?
I can't return to Cuba.
Yeah.
I can't return to Cuba until there is like a political change.
I see.
There,
I see.
freedom,
Okay.
things like
Okay.
that. Or I should
So
not
one-way
return.
ticket.
I'm not planning to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't like it because I still have a big part of my family there, but I could be in danger there, so need to be careful.
So talk about moving here, where you're at, where you moved to, and what life is like been there.
Well, I lived in Tampa for around 1 year and a half with my aunt house, and then I moved to Miami. It's been generally good for me. I've been lucky because I am a computer engineer. I create web apps and applications, and there are a lot of jobs on that field in the States if you have experience. So I have the experience.
Was it hard to get a job?
It was not very hard, but you need to prepare yourself for that. I prepare myself for that. You need to study for the interviews. And also, you have, of course, that a friend of mine recommended me
Okay.
for my first job.
Okay.
He say, hey, because we know each other from Cuba. We used to work together in Cuba.
Okay, got it.
So he recommended me, and I passed all the interviews, and yeah.
And you were able to work legally right away when you get granted asylum?
Yeah.
You have a work visa or a work permit or something?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so what's your life like in Miami?
Miami is a good city, especially for Latinos and even more especially for Cubans, because you can feel like in home there,
Yeah.
in the sense that the people, a lot of people that are the same people of the country. For example, I play soccer, soccer small league Fridays, and there I play with some friends that I used to play even back in Cuba. And of course I made new friends, but it's very easy for us to connect because we came from the same country. We share a lot of things in common, right?
So when you came to the U.S., was it like a reunion? Like, hey, Juan!
It's a good question. No, no, because most of them, or a lot of them, came after me.
Oh.
Some of them were here before, but a lot came after. So it's continuing, the immigration. It just doesn't stop.
What's to stop all the Cubans from coming to the U.S. if they all get asylum? Or your case was special?
No. Well, most Cubans, that is very complicated because that depends on the law that you have, depends on many things. Most Cubans doesn't have to file asylum case. They don't have to. They just give like another like documentation, let's call it like that. You can get the green card, or some of them don't have the green card and they are like waiting. So long story short, depends on many things, but most people doesn't have to file asylum. I need to file asylum basically because I had bad luck. Because most people came to the border and they don't put you in a detention center as they do. It depends in simple things like they have a space or not. Simple
And does
like
it
that.
also depend on who's... Because you came here when Trump was president, so was it different then than now?
I don't think it's very different.
Okay.
I don't think. I know that it sounds crazy, but it's like that. If they have a space, they put people there. If
Yeah.
they don't have a space, they just let people go free.
Wow.
It's like that.
So how do you react when you read news about the border and all these people at the border? Yeah.
I understand both sides. I understand immigrants because immigrants, if you are legal or illegal, whatever, you want a better life. Most of them.
Yeah.
There are some cases that they just want to do bad things and become rich faster, but most of them, I think that from my experience in the detention center, there some bad people, but most of them, unless the ones I met, it didn't look like bad people,
Yeah.
just regular people that want to work. And they want to do it for their family, for themselves. So I understand why people came to America, because
Yeah.
there are definitely more opportunities here. Even if a lot of Americans complain, I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
But compared with the countries, Latin American countries, for example, is the one I know best, definitely a lot of opportunities. But I also understand the American people, because you can't let it every person, because you don't know if the person that is entering is a terrorist, just to put an example, right? It doesn't work like that. All the countries have immigration rules and control for some reasons. And this country should not be different.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to respect the people and be sure that the people that you're letting in the country, you know that it's not a criminal or things like that. That's the minimum that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is a big problem on that. And one of the big problems is, as I mentioned before, is because the authorities are simply like overloaded.
Yeah.
Simple like that. It came 10,000 people and there are like 20 persons. They can do it. And you say, okay, no, but the other day came another 10,000 and 10,000. It doesn't stop. And I know it's hard, but that is the current situation. So I understand both sides, what people came and what American complains, because it's true that a lot of immigrants, even if most of them want to work or want to have a good life, you still need to have conditions. It's not just accept the person.
Yeah.
Because I can say, hey, you can come to my house, Brandon, but if I don't have a bed for you or food for you, it would not be fair for you or for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
To do it. You need to have some conditions for that. I understand that some cities like New York, for example, there are big issues there, simply because there are many people coming. And that is a problem that is just not happening in America. It's happening in Europe and many other many other places in the world.
Do you worry about the U.S. either because of that or for other reasons?
Well, I'm worried about the U.S. because, again, U.S. is a country that I really love and I'm very thankful. It's the country where I live now. I think that it would be better to improve some things in these countries, of course. The immigration is one of them.
Yeah.
But again, I trust a lot the American system. Because some people, I think there are pessimists, because when you see some problem, people think that the problem is gonna get worse and worse and worse. And sometimes they're right. But a lot of time, the problem and the people, the laws, etc., can correct themselves. It's like you say, hey, Juan, you are becoming very, very, very fat, and that is unhealthy. Okay, and you're right. You say, Juan, if you continue being like that, you're gonna die. Okay, but maybe I can improve my behavior. I can stop eating bad food. I can start doing exercises, so I can correct the problem. I trust that America have the capacity to fix all the problems that we have right now.
Okay.
Because America won the World War. America defeated the mafias like Al Capone and all that. You know, big issues. It's not like these are like the first problems that America have, or the worst problem in history. There are another problems, and America they fix them. So I trust. I don't know how. I have some ideas, but I'm not an expert. And most of them I don't even know how. But I trust that the country can do it. It can take some years, of course. It's not. I don't mean that it's gonna be soon, but.
I think some people come here and they think it's going to be easy and wealthy, you know, and I'm going to make a lot of money, and then they realize, oh wow, rent is very expensive, and you know, there's still crime, and it's not this perfect place. Some people have come here for college and then they say, oh, I'm going to go back to China or India. It's actually more opportunity. Like, have there been things about the U.S. that you've been disappointed with, or were you already pretty well aware of how it was here before you came?
No, I think first your first point, I heard that many times, that people came to the U.S. blind. Many people think that. I don't think that. I think, of course, there are cases, but I think that people, for example, in Cuba, you heard Cubans that live in the state, and they say, hey, to live in the state is not easy because you have to work a lot. There are people here that work many, many hours, 12 hours or more each day. And they communicate that to people in Cuba. So people in Cuba know that. It's not all the cases, of course. But they still don't care. They still don't care because you always, the human being try to hope for the best.
Sure.
So they say, okay, but that is not going to happen to me. Or they say, okay, but there are like many good things, and there are many good things. Because that people that complains, they complain because they have reasons. But in the end, you see, okay, you're complaining, but you have a nice car, and I don't have one. I say I have the person in Cuba, right? I don't have a car. You are traveling to Europe. For me, it will be impossible to travel to Europe. So, okay, I want to work hard as you, and I want to do that. So that's what people continue coming here, and they will continue coming. It doesn't matter if you tell them, sorry, there is a lot of flights.
Yeah, there are.
Here.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
I see snow, that was very beautiful. I saw snow in the Grand Teton.
Okay.
National Park. That was cool.
Where's that? Is that Wyoming?
It's Wyoming.
Yeah. Have there been some things about the U.S. that has been more challenging or better than you expected?
Let me think. For me, as I mentioned, when you have I've been lucky because first I have some family here that helped me at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that I'm very thankful for my aunt, my cousins. They have been they helped me a lot with that. And also, as I mentioned, I have a good work. The work that I have is a well-paid job. When you have a good job, the life gets easier. Simple like that.
Yep.
Of course, I'm not rich or anything like that, but I make a decent life.
Yep.
So that helps. So also, I live in Miami. Miami is a city that, as I mentioned before, is friendly for me. I have many friends, many people. It's simple. So it's not being anything particular challenging for me.
Okay.
Because also I am a person that I like to integrate myself with the American culture. I'm not the kind of person that For example, there are some people, even Cubans, that they don't know English, they don't care to speak any English. They will never came here, for example, for any reason, or to other places like Denver that I visited. For example, you say, Denver, why should I go to Denver? They just go to Vegas and New York because it's New York and that's it.
Yeah.
And then they travel back to the country or to Punta Cana, whatever. They don't try to integrate with American culture. I try to integrate. Of course, I'm not American. I'm not trying to be a American as you, for example. But I do like the country, and I do like the culture. I try to understand.
And
for example,
you like Tampa baseball.
Yeah, that was in the. I bought this t-shirt in the stadium. There is a Cuban baseball player playing there. It's
Okay.
Arena. It's one of the stars.
Ah, okay.
So you see it's good for me.
Yeah.
I go to watch baseball. It's a very nice sport, but there are Cubans there. So
Yeah.
and any other good players that are not Cuban, but I love them too. So, and for example, I've been also in the American football game. I even saw Tom Brady in the Tampa Stadium. Remember, he used to play there.
Yeah.
In one of the last matches that he played in the stadium. I think it was his last match with my cousin. My cousin is a big fan. He took me there. So yeah, and I started to love that kind of sport. You know?
So I think Cubans, in general, I'm guessing they have a pretty good understanding of Florida and Miami especially. But something that I think maybe impressed you is getting out of Florida, seeing more of the country. That impresses most Americans. Like if you drive to Nevada or New Mexico and like, wow, I didn't know all these. You just forget how big America is and how many cities there are.
America is like
we're
a
here in
continent.
Minneapolis. People may not think of this city very much.
As you mentioned, I noticed that America is like a continent. People forget about that.
Yeah.
America is almost the same size as Europe.
Yeah.
And the population is like half of Europe, but still many people, 350
Yeah.
millions. It's
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah.
Only 50 million. So America is diverse. For example, people here in Minneapolis, what I've been seeing here, the few days I've been here, they are not the same that in Miami. They don't dress in the same way. They don't talk in the same way.
Yeah.
So definitely there are differences.
The first thing you said to me,
What was?
you looked at my clothes and you said,
Yeah, that you look very gringo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was not in a bad sense, It was
know.
they can put your picture in the dictionary. It's a gringo. Yeah, in Miami, of course, there are Americans, but different, with
Yeah.
different style and.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with that, of course.
Yeah.
Every state has its own.
Well, it's refreshing to hear someone who comes here, likes the life here, and is hopeful about the future of America. And that's not all that surprising, being that you came from a country that has a lower standard of living and you were happy to leave to come here. And it's refreshing because so much of the news, and I get wrapped up in this, is I was talking about Minnesota with you earlier, like, yeah, Minnesota used to be top 5 and all these things, now it's kind of top 15, it's kind of dropped a little bit, and that's what I see is the drop. I don't see that we're still doing well. And so you're telling people, it sounds like your perspective is, are things in the U.S. today like they were before, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that? I don't know, maybe not. But it's still a place that's fantastic. Is that kind of your assessment?
Yeah. But I want to be clear. You should worry. If the city is doing worse, you should worry and you should improve it.
Yeah.
Just not like over worry,
Yeah.
Just like we are gonna die. No. Let's try to fix it. Let's try.
Yeah.
Also, let's try to continue seeing the positive things. It's still a very nice city. Still like that. I understand. You was one of the 5 safest city, and now you are not there. That is not good.
Right.
Because the crime increase.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you have to say, the crime is increasing, but still no. Hey, why the crime is increasing? We need to maybe change the polity or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? But still, like, to be hopeful. That's what I try to see the light.
Let's talk a little bit about Cuba.
Okay.
So, in the 6 years you've been here, how has your perspective on your country changed, if at all?
The perspective in my country didn't change much, to be honest. The first, the second, and the third goal of the government are stay in the power. I knew from Cuba that Cuba is a dictatorship, and it is a dictatorship. In these years, that just like increased. For example, today is like 13, right? July?
The 12th.
Okay, the 12th. Well, yesterday was like the second anniversary of the biggest protest in Cuban history. By the way, we met each other in the outside the Capitol.
Outside where? The Capitol?
No, sorry, outside the White House.
Oh.
Because Cubans.
Oh, there was a rally?
There was a rally supporting the Cuban fight for freedom, and of course I didn't know she was gonna be there, but she was there.
You just saw her?
Yeah.
Oh, right, really?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't plan it?
No, we didn't plan
Oh,
it. We don't.
wow.
We don't.
You remembered her?
Yeah.
Well, there's a number of Cubans that look very closely back at Cuba from the U.S. and they hope for a. But you were saying, so 2 years ago there was a big protest.
3 years, sorry.
3 years ago, okay.
There was a big protest, 11 July. You can, people, they are interested, they can look on Google. They will see all the political repression, the police. And there are many people right now, political prisoners. I would like to use this opportunity to ask for the freedom, the release. I have friends there, like Luis Manuel Otero Alcantara, for example, that is in jail right now, and he did nothing. He literally say, hey, I'm going to protest, passive protest in the street. And he was walking and just like, singing some consignas, things like that. We want freedom, freedom, things like that. He didn't push anyone, he didn't destroy anything, and they put him in jail just for that. And not just him, thousands of people. What the Cuban dictatorship, the government, what they do is they do a group trial, They take 20 people that were there that day, or they think they were there that day, because there are many cases. And it's one person, I don't know, just for saying an example, throw a rock to a store. They say that the 20 people destroy public property, and not just that. They say that they are enemies of the country because they were following order from America or from USA, and they are like agents and things like that. And they don't care if people didn't throw the rock. If the person don't know the one who threw the rock, he was not there. They just do it like that because they just want to put people in jail, and they give to them 15 years old in prison. We're not talking about a few months or 1 or 2 years, 15 years old for that. There are many cases. So
they're in prison for 15 years?
For 15 years. The judge give them the content of 15 years in prison. They're still there, just it's past 3 years, but they need to serve 15 years. I want to see my country free. I want to see my people not suffering anymore. The freedom is the most important thing. Also, the economical part is very important, but usually it's more tight than people think. So, yeah, I would like to Cuba for be free. I'm hoping for that.
And things didn't loosen up? Did they get more freedoms after the
No.
protest? No.
Even worse, I think.
It's the same system that you
It's
left.
the same, or even worse in some cases. The same.
Well, does that validate your decision to come here?
Of course. Nobody. I did well. I did well because I of course you never know, right? But I'm pretty sure that I will be out in that protest 3 years ago if I was in Cuba. I'm 99% sure about that. And maybe if I was free at that time, or it's not, because you never know. Probably I would be in jail before that or after that, So my life is not safe. So of course I'm now here. I'm glad to America, but I'm trying to support the Cuban freedom because that's important for me. And thank you for giving voice to me and other people in the channel. I have a lot of visitors here.
Well, yeah, you're popular. Well, thanks, Juan.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure to see you here.